Okay, we have a small engine car here, very jittery to drive. You know, it's designed for a purpose. The purpose is basically commuting back and forth to the shops, running the kids to the school, going to work. It's a cheap car, parts are inexpensive. What I find with these particular Ford models is the seating position feels a bit odd. It always feels like I'm sitting a little bit too high. I wonder why they don't design the car so you're sitting a bit lower. I feel too high to the actual car, to the dashboard. It doesn't feel like it's ergonomically designed very well. The windscreen, I'm looking down through it rather than gazing through it on a similar horizon. There's a lot of noise coming through from the back windows. I've checked them and they don't seem to be open, so it's got to be just road noise. The car's got quite a lot of lean. You go into the corners, I'm aware of the top of the car being particularly heavy. It's certainly not a car that I would like to nip around a town in because it feels basically too top heavy. It feels like it's got a big head on a small body. The dashboard looks very cheap and it feels like it's made out of recycled kids' toys or Lego blocks or something. We've got a 5-gear manual here. Dashboard's very basic, very clearly laid out. The instrument dials for the speedo, the rev counter, etc. They're big enough, they're visible, they're not blocked by the steering wheel, but I would have to say there's a lot of little digits in between the numbers, like the 60, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, and they just add to confusion. You want to be able to look at a speedo and see what you're doing speed wise. You don't want to look down at a speedo and have to filter out excess information around the figures that you're looking for. I look down now, I see I'm coming just under 50 miles an hour. Yeah, there's all this other information around which I don't need. So that I don't like. Steering wheel seems proportionate to the car. The interior of the car, to me, it's soulless, it's heartless. Brakes are terrible. Absolutely terrible. I did a little bit of a brake there from about 40 miles an hour and there was a little bit of a indentation in the road where the new pipes had been laid, and I could feel, it felt like the car was sliding in the wet. I assume it must have been the ABS, but I didn't actually feel like I was braking at all. I felt like I was sliding, and I can assure you the roads are not wet at all. It was almost like I'd hit some oil, and there was no oil on that road. Brakes on this are frightening. I'm going to test it again in a little bit further down the road. I was really not impressed by those brakes at all. As soon as I put my foot on the brake, it felt like I was sliding. Something was happening back there because I really didn't feel like we were stopping. And after looking back in the mirror, I can't see any water or oil on the road. The interior of the car, to me, has the same sort of quality that you would come to expect with a commercial vehicle. It doesn't seem to have any personality attached to it. It's very, very bland and soulless, to be fair. There's far too much plastic in this car. I might as well be an Action Man figure or something because it would blend in perfectly with this. The visibility, not bad at all. Got a huge windscreen. Wing mirrors could be higher up, but I find that there's a lot of cars, so it might be a personal preference. I am sitting too high up. There's plenty of headroom, but I'm looking down rather than looking out. Back seats look pretty spacious. Looks like you could get 4 people in here pretty comfy. The actual ride is awful. The car's got a lot of wobble to it. It's not a car you're gonna do a swerve in an emergency and feel like you're in control. It's one of those cars that you don't feel like you're in control, you feel like you're in effect. I know it's not a sports car, but I feel like I've got about as much control over this car as I would driving a shopping trolley, to be quite fair. The ride is not aggressively bumpy, but it's not meeting the roads very nicely at all. I'm getting a lot of a very sort of jittery effect from the road. In fact, it feels like the road is determining my direction at many times. It's very, very unpleasant. Gear stick actually feels like it's hollow plastic. It's that junky feel it's got. This car basically feels like it's been found in a cracker. It's got such a cheap, nasty feel to it. It's not quite on the scale of the Toyota Yaris, but I think of how Ford Fiestas were 10-15 years ago. They were good little cars, you know. They were mass-produced, etc., etc., but they had a little identity to them. This, to me, is just like a piece of plastic with four wheels. And the ride, I would say, is just absolutely awful. You know, it's 2012 now, and if this is the standard of car that Ford expects us to accept, even on a budget level vehicle, I think we're in for a miserable ride.